I heard something that made me chuckle. That Tom Brady is a systems quarterback. You want to talk about ultimate system quarterback? Joe Montana, Steve Young. Steve Young was in Tampa Bay. What did he do in his first 2 seasons there? In limited time. 3 TDs, 8 interceptions, something like 8 touchdowns and 13 interceptions next year. He was horrible. It was only until he went to San Francisco and benefited from Bill Walsh's offensive genius mind, the West Coast offense. Montana and Steve Young are a product of the system. That's the bottom line. While they had Jerry Rice to throw the ball to, Tom Brady's had what? Deion Branch, Troy Brown, old running backs. He's won 3 Super Bowls with no receivers. Garbage. I mean, Randy Moss, he didn't win a Super Bowl with them. All Randy Moss is a go route. Throw the ball deep, he'll run and catch it. Other than that, what has Tom Brady had to work with? He's made his receivers. Jerry Rice probably the greatest receiver in NFL history. Joe Montana and Steve Young had him. He also had Terrell Owens when Owens was good. So they are the ultimate system quarterbacks then, too. I mean, anyone can play in the West Coast offense. Aaron Rodgers, system quarterback. It's about the West Coast. So Joe Montana is the ultimate system quarterback. And be honest with you, with today's complex defenses right now, Joe Montana and Steve Young would not be able to do what they did back then. It would be physically and mentally impossible. These quarterbacks today have to face a variety of defenses, coverages, all this other stuff they have to put in their head and think about. When them guys back then, everything was so non-complicated back then. So Steve Young and Joe Montana were ultimate system quarterbacks. It's the bottom line. Now, Tom Brady, the best ever. You can say what you want about him. You can call him a system quarterback all you want. But guess what? The ultimate system quarterbacks were Joe Montana and Steve Young. The complexity of the defenses they oppose today are just too much for them 2 guys that are the aforementioned Young and Montana to be able to handle, to be able to decipher. I mean, seriously, they were good quarterbacks in their day. But in today's game, nah. Today's game, you have to think more. And they couldn't do what they do in today's game back then. They couldn't do it. In today's game, the defenses are just too goddamn complex. So you're facing multiple coverages, multiple variations right now in today's game as opposed to back then. So the ultimate quarterback, the ultimate systems quarterback is Montana and Steve Young. Now, I'm not saying they weren't good. They're top 10 material, no doubt about it. If I had to pick a quarterback right now to win 1 game for me, right now of all time, it'd be John Elway. Because I've seen John Elway beat the Cleveland Browns 3 straight years in the AFC Championship when the Cleveland Browns were actually a viable team who had a great defense, won the first-ranked defense in the NFL. I've seen it happen 3 straight years in a row. Elway was a beast. That's who I would take. In 1 game, I would take him. Then I'd take, Brady. For the simple fact is Brady's won with nobody. And a lot of people talk about Dan Marino, right? Because he ain't won no Super Bowls. Well, guess what? I'm not a firm believer you have to win Super Bowls, even though Peyton Manning only won 1. With the talent he had around him, he only won 1. But I will tell you this about Dan Marino. He played back in the day when you could just maul receivers with virtually no running game, with 2 scrub receivers also. Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, he made them. Anybody else throwing the ball to them, you don't even hear about them. Plus, he had the quickest release in NFL history. He was good. Marino was good. But do I consider him the best ever? No. I take Tom Brady just for the fact that when he's on that field, he's a field general. And plus, he's facing complex, diverse defenses today's game, as opposed to Montana and Steve Young, what they faced back in the late 80s and 90s. Now, they are ultimate system quarterbacks. It's not taking nothing away from them. Bill Walsh was an offensive genius. And that's why Bill Walsh is such an offensive genius. That's why his offense still lives in today's game. He made the West Coast offense. It lives in today's game. So, I would take Brett Favre over Joe Montana and Steve Young. Honestly, Brett Favre had like 4 straight years that were one of the best 4 straight runs you ever see in your life. But he was a gunslinger, but I would take him. He was a beast at one time. So I'm not denigrating what Montana and Young did. I'm just telling you right now. They are a product of the system, the West Coast offense. Same with Aaron Rodgers. They are the ultimate system quarterbacks. So if you want to say Brady's an ultimate system quarterback, that's fine and dandy. But you also have to recognize that Young and Montana were the ultimate system quarterbacks. You have to take that into consideration because they were. Now, I did make a mistake in a comment. I did tell somebody that Young led the league in interceptions 1 year, whatever. Now, that was Vinny Testaverde, this and that. But Young, in two years in Tampa Bay, although it was limited time, he didn't understand the game of football until he came to the West Coast offense, which quarterbacks flourish in. It's a proven fact in the NFL. And like I say, today's defenses are bigger, stronger, faster than they were back then. So it's a different ballgame altogether. The 72 Dolphins right now couldn't beat the worst NFL team in today's game. The Cleveland Browns, Indianapolis Colts right now would slaughter the 72 Dolphins who went undefeated. It's a different game. So Montana today's game, he'd be good, but not like he was. Steve Young was actually better than Montana because Steve Young could run. I mean, Steve Young was hard to game plan for because he could take off. Montana was a statue. That's all he was. Tom Brady, statue also. But Tom Brady's got this over the rest of these guys. He looks at that defense. He's like an offensive coordinator on the field, like Bernie Kosar was, like Peyton Manning was. The only reason I'm not going to say Peyton Manning's a great quarterback, probably top 5. But he's not the greatest of all time. The man chokes in playoffs. Now, Dan Marino, he really ain't had the talent around him. But Dan Marino, from a just throwing the ball aspect, he's probably the best ever just throwing the ball. Because he had like, boom, quick release, boom, boom, like that. Very quick release. And plus, the receivers back then got mauled. And Dan Marino did it with Clayton and Duper. 2 guys you would have never heard about if Dan Marino wasn't. If David Woodley, God rest his soul, I know he's dead, was the quarterback at Miami, you would have never heard about Clayton and Duper. Trust me on that. So, the bottom line is we learned 2 things here today. You call Tom Brady a systems quarterback. I call Montana and Young a systems quarterback, and you can't argue that. So, it's the bottom line. Tom Brady's the best quarterback ever. In one game on the line, who I had to pick, it would be either between Tom Brady and John Elway. Because John Elway was a beast. I mean, that cat against the drive against Cleveland. Now, I know people are going to say in the Super Bowl this and that, he ain't had a team around him. I mean, come on, Vance Johnson, Mark Jackson, come on, man. He ain't had a team around him. Plus, he ran into some buzzsaw teams. Also, Jim Kelly was another beast of a quarterback. There are so many quarterbacks at Troy Aikman. They all play in similar systems, so you can call every quarterback a system quarterback. But in reality, if you had to pick one game for one team to win in today's game, out of Montana, if you put Montana and Young and Brady, who are you going to choose? Tom Brady. That is a fact opinion. That is not opinion. That is a fact opinion. So you just have to accept it. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever. Now, I'm open to debates now if you want to say that Peyton Manning. No, I'm not open to that because, like I said, Peyton Manning's a great quarterback, but I would take his brother Eli over him in a heartbeat in a big game. Peyton Manning just seems to struggle in a big game. I mean, it took him, 3 years to get by the Patriots? He was 0-3 against the Patriots, and then the Patriots blew a 21-3 lead at Indianapolis, the RCA Dome, which Belichick, I don't understand it. But anyway, in a playoff game in 2005, whatever. The bottom line is Tom Brady's got 3 Super Bowl titles with Deion Branch, Troy Brown, Corey Dillon, who was washed up. I mean, come on now. Joe Montana's, Jerry Rice, John Taylor. Jerry Rice, the greatest receiver ever. Roger Craig, Ricky Waters. I'm just throwing him out there because he was running back. And I forget who the other receivers were, but come on now. Jerry Rice, Deion Branch. Jerry Rice, Troy Brown. Roger Craig, Corey Dillon. 50-year-old Corey Dillon. Come on now. Whatever. So, plus he had Deion Sanders, too, at some point in the junction. Patriots had a good defense. Defenses washed each other out. Today's game, the 49ers defense would get ran all over and passed all over. It's a different era. You people got to understand that. 10 years from now, we'll be talking about another quarterback that's better, probably RG3, that's better than Brady ever was. That's just how it's going to go. People get better as time goes on. Yeah, it evolves. Sports evolves. I mean, 20 years from now, we'll be like Tom Brady's the 3rd best quarterback in the league. RG3 will be the best, or Andrew Luck, whatever. That's just how sports go. It evolves. So you have to accept that. There's going to be a player better than Jordan. Guess what? It's Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant is pushing that envelope right now, almost better than Jordan. I personally like him better than Jordan, but that's personal reasons. But whatever. System quarterback. The ultimate system quarterbacks I expose right now were Joe Montana and Steve Young. Because in Bill Walsh's offensive genius, West Coast offense, every quarterback in today's game or the past game has flourished in that. Look at Donovan McNabb. That was a West Coast offense they ran out there in Andy Reid's thing. He dominated. And he was terrible now. I mean, look, he lost everything. He was a good quarterback in it, wasn't he? Yes, he was. So, West Coast offense it's a systems quarterback. That's all it is. Tom Brady, general. Field general on the field. That's what Tom Brady is. Look, I'm going to do Tom Brady right now. Field general on the field. That's what he does, right? And you know what? He looks this guy. He changes everything. Peyton Manning does the same thing, but Peyton Manning's not as good. Now, you know what? Look, I'm sorry about this, But I had to expose these people out there that want to call Tom Brady a system quarterback. Because if Tom Brady's a system quarterback, then the same rules apply to Joe Montana and Steve Young as being a system quarterback. And that's just fact opinion, not opinion. Fact opinion. F. Not O. F. That's factual evidence, there's some.